Erik Menendez's emotional testimony about his dark childhood is one of the most gripping aspects of the infamous Menendez brothers case. The tale of Erik and his brother Lyle, accused of murdering their wealthy parents, Kitty and Jose Menendez, captured national attention in the early 1990s. But behind the headlines of greed, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder lay a haunting narrative of abuse, trauma, and a desperate cry for help. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. Erik's testimony was a pivotal moment in the trial, offering the jury a glimpse into the torment he claimed to have endured behind the closed doors of the Menendez family's Beverly Hills mansion. From the outside, the Menendezes appeared to be the epitome of success and affluence. Jose, a self-made millionaire, was a powerful entertainment executive known for his relentless ambition and authoritarian demeanor. Kitty, a former beauty queen, was a devoted homemaker and mother. Together, they painted a picture of a picture-perfect family. But according to Erik, the reality was anything but perfect. In vivid detail, Erik recounted a childhood marred by relentless abuse at the hands of his father. Jose Menendez, Erik claimed, was a tyrannical and controlling figure who demanded perfection and obedience. Failure to meet his impossibly high standards often resulted in verbal and physical punishment. Erik described feeling like a prisoner in his own home, living under the constant threat of his father's wrath. But the most harrowing part of Erik's testimony came when he detailed the abuse he alleged Jose inflicted upon him. Through tears, Erik described how the abuse began when he was just a young boy and continued for years. He spoke of the shame, confusion, and helplessness he felt, unable to escape the cycle of abuse or confide in anyone about the horrors he was enduring. Erik's voice broke as he described how Jose would isolate him, manipulate him, and use his power to keep him silent. Adding to the trauma, Erik testified that his mother, Kitty, was not only aware of the abuse but complicit in it. He claimed that Kitty turned a blind eye to Jose's actions, choosing to protect the family's image rather than her own children. According to Erik, Kitty's emotional instability and substance abuse created an environment of chaos and neglect. He described his mother as both a victim and an enabler, trapped in her own cycle of dependency and denial. Erik's testimony painted a picture of a deeply dysfunctional family where love was conditional, and appearances were everything. He spoke of the immense pressure he and Lyle felt to succeed and uphold the family's reputation, despite the emotional scars they carried. Erik's account of his childhood was corroborated by his brother Lyle, who also testified about the abuse they both suffered. Together, their stories formed the basis of their defense, that the murders of their parents were not premeditated acts of greed but the desperate actions of two broken young men who felt they had no other way out. The prosecution, however, painted a very different picture. They argued that the Menendez brothers were motivated by greed and a desire to inherit their parents' multi-million-dollar estate. They pointed to the brothers' extravagant spending in the months following the murders as evidence of their true motives. The trial became a media sensation, with the public divided over whether the brothers were victims or villains. Erik's emotional testimony was met with both sympathy and skepticism. For some, his account of abuse provided a tragic context for the murders and highlighted the devastating impact of childhood trauma. For others, it was seen as a calculated attempt to garner pity and avoid accountability for his actions. The jury's task was to weigh the brothers' claims of abuse against the cold, hard facts of the crime, the brutal execution-style killings of Jose and Kitty Menendez. In the end, the jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict, resulting in a mistrial. A subsequent retrial led to the conviction of both Erik and Lyle Menendez for first-degree murder. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Despite the verdict, the Menendez brothers' case continues to spark debate and fascination, with many questioning whether justice was truly served. Erik Menendez's testimony remains a haunting reminder of the complex and often hidden dynamics of family abuse. His words shed light on the psychological toll of living in fear and the desperate measures some may take when pushed to their breaking point. Whether seen as a victim or a perpetrator, Erik's story underscores the importance of addressing abuse and providing support for those trapped in its cycle. To understand the weight of Erik's claims, one must delve deeper into the psychological effects of childhood abuse. Experts who testified during the trial described how prolonged abuse can distort a child's perception of reality and self-worth. Victims often live in a state of hypervigilance, constantly anticipating the next outburst or punishment. This creates a toxic cycle of fear and compliance, where the child feels powerless to resist or escape. For Erik, this sense of helplessness was compounded by his father's control over every aspect of his life, from his education and social interactions to his personal aspirations. Erik's detailed accounts of his father's methods of control were chilling. He described how Jose used threats and intimidation to silence him, often warning that any attempt to expose the abuse would result in severe consequences for both Erik and his brother. This fear was not unfounded, as Jose's domineering personality extended beyond the home. Colleagues and acquaintances of Jose testified to his ruthless nature in business dealings, often describing him as a man who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. In addition to physical and sexual abuse, Erik also spoke of the emotional manipulation he endured. Jose would frequently belittle and demean him, calling him weak and unworthy. This constant barrage of negativity eroded Erik's self-esteem and left him feeling isolated and unlovable. Even in moments of apparent kindness, Erik said he felt his father's actions were calculated, designed to reinforce his control rather than provide genuine care or affection. The impact of this environment on Erik's mental health was profound. He described struggling with anxiety, depression, and a pervasive sense of hopelessness. Therapy records introduced during the trial revealed that Erik had expressed suicidal thoughts and feelings of worthlessness long before the murders occurred. These records, combined with the testimony of mental health professionals, painted a picture of a young man deeply scarred by years of unrelenting abuse. The role of Kitty Menendez in this dynamic added another layer of complexity to the case. Erik's testimony portrayed her as a deeply troubled individual who, while also a victim of Jose's domineering ways, failed to protect her children. Kitty's own struggles with mental health and substance abuse were well documented, with friends and family describing her as a woman trapped in a toxic marriage. Erik's descriptions of his mother vacillated between anger and pity, reflecting his conflicted feelings toward a parent who he believed could have stopped the abuse but chose not to. In their defense, Erik and Lyle's attorneys argued that the murders were the result of years of psychological torment finally reaching a breaking point. They claimed that the brothers feared for their lives, believing that Jose and Kitty would kill them to prevent the truth from coming out. This fear, combined with the emotional scars of their past, led them to take what they saw as the only way to ensure their safety. However, the prosecution countered that the brothers' actions after the murders undermined their claims of fear and desperation. Evidence of their lavish spending, including luxury cars, designer clothes, and expensive vacations, was presented to suggest that their true motive was financial gain. The stark contrast between their actions and their claims of trauma created a polarizing narrative, with public opinion split on whether the Menendez brothers were cold-blooded killers or tragic victims of a lifetime of abuse. Erik Menendez's testimony remains one of the most poignant aspects of the case, offering a rare glimpse into the hidden world of family dysfunction and the long-lasting effects of abuse. His words continue to resonate with those who have experienced similar struggles, serving as a reminder of the importance of acknowledging and addressing the signs of abuse before tragedy strikes. The Menendez case, though decades old, continues to spark discussions about the complexities of familial relationships, the impact of trauma, and the pursuit of justice in a world where the lines between victim and perpetrator are often blurred. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more compelling stories and deep dives into twisted tales.